Welcome to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The way I can give support to the world right now is by showing up. The most important thing is don't think just that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up.
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is Dr. Nancy's passion and her purpose, and talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of her favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up in my conversations. I build relationships. I show up as myself time and time and time again. And trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Kathy Caprino is an international career and leadership coach, writer, speaker, and educator dedicated to helping professional women build rewarding, impactful careers of significance. A former corporate VP, she is also a trained therapist, seasoned executive coach, senior Forbes contributor, top media source, and the author of 2 top-selling books aimed at supporting the advancement of women in business, Breakdown Breakthrough, and her latest, The Most Powerful You, 7 Bravery-Boosting Paths to Career Bliss. With her Finding Brave podcasts, books, assessments, coaching programs, courses, and other key resources, Kathy has been named a top career coach and leadership voice in the U.S. and globally. Her ultimate mission is to support a Finding Brave moment that empowers professionals to close their power gaps and rise to reach their highest and most thrilling potential. Her new video training and online course, based on her book, The Most Powerful You, helps emerging and seasoned leaders and their teams achieve greater confidence, self-esteem, strategic vision, impact, communication strength, and key success results that align with their core values and personal missions. Now here's Dr. Nancy and her guest, Kathy Caprino.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
So good to see you. I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm always so inspired by all your work, Nancy, really.
Well, I have to say this, and I always say this. I didn't get here by myself.
None of us
that's
do.
The most important thing that women especially understand is that we need each other. And when we support each other, anything is possible. And of course, that is Women Connect for Good. Support one another, and anything is possible. And you've shown that in your work. And I noticed here, and I didn't even think about it, but your background is in marriage and family therapy. I also was an AMFT clinician as well.
I don't think I knew that.
Long ago. Oh, I've got certifications. I've got mediation.
I know you too.
I think when you get started in the industry, then you end up with every certification and possibility that you could.
Well, you do, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but no, I have a special love for marriage and family therapists because I love their systemic view of things.
Yeah, and I'm a systemic theory-based cognitive behavioral, but my background is problem solving. So yeah, I consider, as a psychologist, when people ask me what I do, I consider myself an educator. And I see that from what you're saying in your different your bio and different things about you, is that's the most important thing we can be. Nobody's an expert. That we're all educators, and we're here to help one another. And I will say this, Kathy, if I stop learning, it's time for me to go.
I so agree with you. And I bet you might resonate with this. Being an influencer is all the rage. I have an allergic reaction to that word because I don't think it's a word we want to use about ourselves. If someone else says she influenced me and impacted me, awesome. But I think so many people are trying to be influencers, where I'm with you. If we can educate, uplift, inform, share, help, then I feel that that's a path that's very rewarding and mutually generative. Whereas trying to be an influencer, that can be an interesting road.
Heavy bag to carry, isn't it? That's a lot of heavy weight, and I sure don't want that. So, I mean, for me, if if just I learn something or I can share something with someone that gives them a little bit, as you say, lift up is our campaign. We lift women as we rise. But let's talk about you, because this is what's important. Because, one of the things, Kathy, that I find when I talk to attractive, intelligent, educated, sophisticated women like you, women will look at you or me at sometimes and they'll think, well, it's so easy for her. She's had this easy road. Things have just come her way. And you and I both know it's the hard knocks in life, and it's that road, that journey, the journey that we take and the one that we make and the path we take are the most important things that create who you are today and who I am today. So let's talk about your personal story. And we're going to talk about the book, absolutely, but it's part of your journey. So
I love it.
How did you get to be the Kathy I'm talking to today?
Well, thank you for that question. So I couldn't agree with you more in terms of knocks really teaching us. But the long story short is I got out of college wanting to be an editor of great books, helping authors birth their ideas. And I bailed on that dream about, the second week out of college. And I got into publishing. And I was good at it. Marketing of science books. Can you imagine? My dad was a scientist, so there was some relevance there. Heavy. Not me at all, but I was good at it. And lesson number 1 of 2 million that I've learned is you can be really good at something you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So when people say pursue what you're good at, no, that's not the whole picture, but I only learned that 18 years later. So it became an 18-year corporate career, and I rose to the level of vice president. I would say they're successful on the outside, the opposite on the inside. So I had bumps all along the way, but I didn't understand them. I didn't recognize them until I hit 40, and those turned into full-blown crises. So I faced sexual harassment, gender discrimination and bias, toxic colleagues, narcissistic bosses. I didn't even know what narcissism was. Now we all do. Zero work-life balance, chronic illness. I had an infection of the trachea of all things. They called it tracheitis. And here I am, a singer and a speaker. Every 4 months, I'd get really pretty violently ill.
Your voice wasn't coming out, was it? What you wanted to really say.
That's right. That's right. I went to 2 energy healers, and I didn't even believe it at the time, energy healing. And I had said nothing, and they both said, "What are you doing for a living?" And it's, this is the seed of your personal expression of who you are. You got to change it. But I went, no, because I'd worked so hard, 18 years, right?
Sure.
So what ended up happening was I got promised kind of the moon, frankly, in that a leader said to me, buy the biggest house you can. We were looking to move to another area. Buy the biggest house you can. You have a great career here. We did. And 1 month after moving into that home was 9/11. And 1 month later, I was laid off in a way, Nancy, that was absolutely brutal to me. I didn't know what hit me, but I did know that I simply could not go back to that life. That was, my first book is called Breakdown, Breakthrough. Breakthrough is a wonderful word, in my opinion.
Right.
I had that breakdown moment that led me to breakthrough. And I'll make this quick, but I think it's an important part of the story. I was sitting in my therapist's office weeping a week after. And he said, I know from where you sit, this is the worst crisis you've faced. But from where I sit, it's the first moment you can choose who you want to be in the world. Now, who do you want to be? And the part I love, Nancy, is if we knew that and the answer to that question, we'd mostly be on the road to it. I didn't know. My mind went blank, but I said, I want to be you. I don't know. I want to be you. And we laughed. And he said, what does that mean to you? And I said, I want to help people, not hurt people and be hurt.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Makes me cry to even say it still.
That's wonderful.
And he said, I think you'd make a good therapist. And that was the beginning of the road to becoming a marriage and family therapist and then finding coaching. So the past 16 years, it's been leadership and career coaching for mid to high level professional women. But, when you talked about uplifting, I always know that it's time to write something or do a podcast or write a book when I'm hearing the same things over and over and over and over, like you have. And that has been what propelled me to do more speaking and writing, because I'm hearing the same challenges for women over 20 years of this.
Well, and I'm going to say something, and I'm sure this is, again, why we continue to do what we're doing, is because women can't be what they don't see, what they don't hear about, and what they can't read about. And that still continues to be a huge issue because, women buy 80 to 85% of products and services in the United States.
85%.
We are now acquiring more wealth. This generation of women inheriting wealth is growing and growing and growing. But why don't we have seats at the table that we need, especially the seat in legislation and the political table? Every country has greater women leaders than the United States has ever had. This is my goal. This is your goal. We want to change that, but we have to keep teaching and showing women what it's all about. And it really is so simple. That is the key.
Very simple, but nuanced, isn't it?
The book is called, let's get right into it, The Most Powerful You, 7 Bravery-Boosting Paths to Career Bliss. And, you said something that was very important, is do what you love. It's amazing when you love what you do, how wonderful it becomes. And people know that, and you share that. But again, it's finding that path. But who was your mentor? Was it that therapist that you were seeing that said to you, but you would make a good therapist? But who was the mentor? Who was the person who said, Kathy, you can do this. You can be this other. Who lifted you up?
I love this question. Frankly, there have been 1,000 in these years, but when he said it, I had so admired him that I listened. And then no one's asked me in this way, but I went and interviewed 2 universities I live in Connecticut, about the marriage and family designation, that master's, because it's not given in every state. And it was fascinating. The other university, I went to Fairfield U for the master's. It was a man who was the head of the department. Don't know if he's still there, but the way he interviewed me, I said, this is not for me. Like, I began just being given permission to do, not what do you want to do, who do you want to be? Just that therapist, that question somehow filled me with wait a minute, I'm not going to repeat stuff. So I went to the other university and interviewed, and it was an amazing woman. I'll never forget it, Dr. Ingeborg Haug. And I was 41, and I said, Ingeborg, do you think this is crazy what I'm thinking of? And she said, crazy? First of all, there's a lot of corporate refugees, sitting in our master's program. And secondly, why wouldn't you be able to succeed in this? It was like a polar opposite interview. But so she's one of literally 1,000, both men and women, I want to say, Nancy. And another thing I want to say is, on this journey of having a podcast, as you have for a long time, I'm also bringing into the fold amazing men, and men who are reinventing manhood and masculinity. And we're learning about how patriarchy hurts everyone.
Everybody.
So I need to make that message really clear, that this isn't an us versus them, but a patriarchal system, which is co-created. Frankly, there are things, and
it's co-created by things that women have allowed as well.
I'm glad that you said it.
Your first question, why do women shun power? They've been taught to do so. They've been taught to do so. And, I had this, and this was interesting because I had this discussion with this woman today who basically was a refugee from Vietnam. She came here to the United States. She could speak no English. She's now has a job. She has a family. And the words that I taught her today that she did not understand were bravery and courageous and being fearless. And, I just saw her just grow and grow and grow. just by, and I actually did the interpretation on her phone to show her what it was spelled. But the point is that women are taught to not have power. We're taught to be, well, let's face it, little girls. Our little girls are princesses. Little boys are little men. We start from the very beginning, teaching little girls that they don't have any power. They need a prince. What does a princess need? She needs a prince to come and rescue and save her. So, I mean, it's nobody's fault.
Right.
This is not pointing fingers. It's just that we have to understand where these views and ideas come from so that we can understand them and move from those powerless points and those. But I truly believe fear is the biggest for anyone. Fear stops most of us to really find our true joy.
I think you're right. And, looking at the nuance, I agree with everything you're saying. And we can have a fear of failure, but we can also have a tremendous fear of success.
Yeah.
What we're going to lose. I won't have balance. I won't be home with my kids. I love the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's incredible about our upper limit problem and how we sabotage ourselves. But we fear all sorts of things. And I think we fear our power.
The more successful you became, did you find that some women just basically challenged you even more so? That's what happened with me. Who do you think you are?
I had those exact words when I told a vice president from my old life that I was going to become a therapist. The person said, "Why do you think you need that? Who do you think you are?
Why would you want to do that?"
You've heard that. But 20 years ago, I didn't know any of this stuff. I took it very personally. We had a couple over for dinner and I announced that I was going to become a therapist. And one of the people said, "You're going to be broke and burnt out, within the first 3 years." And I went upstairs and cried in my bedroom. Now, we're therapists. What comes at me from you is more about you than me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be a narcissist and not think I'm not accountable for anything. But if you're having that reaction, I know that you're burnt out and you're depressed and you're worn out and broke, not me.
Yeah. Well, Gloria Felt has the power tools, and the first power tool is the power to. It's not the power over. It's the power to.
That's right.
How many of us have been born, when we're small children, we're confident, we have everything. The world is the world is just one wonderful moment after another. Little children looking around and smiling. It's what happens during the process that starts to dissipate and disappear. But we come into this world amazing with talents and abilities that somewhere along the line, they kind of get pounded out of us. So we have to remember and remind ourselves how we even began in this lifetime.
I love it. And you bring up a good point. I just had a client an hour ago who is very afraid of a lot of things. And she said, "Why am I like this?" And while I don't do therapy and coaching, I do believe in it. I talk about it in the book. You are what your childhood taught you to be, unless you unlearned it or healed it. But the important thing is that it doesn't help to blame your parents. Like my sweet mom, who died in March at 98, and dad died at 93. They did the best they could.
Sure.
They had their own scripts and their own messages. So to blame them doesn't help. But if we don't gain awareness of the ways in which we were trained to be something that is holding us back now, you're never going to break free from that. So, but it's a fine balance. Like when I talk to people about, let's talk about your childhood, and please don't misunderstand me. This is not about blame. But if you don't have eyes wide open, so I know, this in spades here, but there's a lot of narcissistic personality disordered parents.
Sure.
And when you are a child of a narcissist,
educations weren't very good in the first place. And then, the handbooks were, the parent that gets, what's that book that's so thick, the doctor, whatever. And you just say, put the book away, put the book away, just love them and learn together, and it really.
And love them unconditionally, please. Don't make it be about what they achieve and how they look and how they're number one on the team, please.
They are not you. They are not you.
And don't get your self-esteem just from
all right.
achievement.
Well, we're talking about this book, and I think it's wonderful because there are some great lessons to be learned. But again, power is something that women. I was sitting I was doing a speaking engagement about one of my books, and the question that I asked was, how many, and this was about 50 women attorneys, and I said, how many of you in this room feel powerful? One woman raised her hand. These were litigators. These were female attorneys. And it was almost as if to ask a question like that was like, I can't
say I have power.
I can't. What's everybody going to think of me? I wonder what happened to that one woman that raised her hand later on. Did they look at her differently? Maybe they did look at her differently. And hopefully they looked at themselves differently. The next question I ask is, how many women in this world support one another?
So what'd you get for an answer?
You know what? I got the answers, but are the women looking down like this, or the women looking like this, or the women smiling? You knew exactly which women were which. I mean, and this is something that we're learning over and over again. Is that, and I absolutely agree with you. This is going to take us all, men, women. It's boys and girls. The sooner that we learn that we're in this together, anything's going to be possible.
We need allies and we need advocates. We're not just going to do this by ourselves.
Can't do this by ourselves. Nobody gets to the finish line by themselves.
That's it.
Nobody. But the book has many lessons to learn, and I'm just a few tidbits here and there, because you know what we want people to do? We want them to go and buy it.
I hope they will. I hope so.
All right. So, and again, what you're talking to thousands of women about these different concepts, but what was most surprising to you? And I think that's what did you find? What did you commonly hear? And what were you most surprised about?
Thank you for that. Great question. So, I do want to say a lot of times we'll understand, wow, women don't seem very powerful. But in order to be helpful, from my perspective anyway, I decided, let me figure out what is missing from their lives. And the answer was bravery, as you talked about. But bravery is not enough. It's the power too, as you said, bravery and power. But then I said, great, it's an enormous topic. How do I dimensionalize this? So I spent the next months, in the talks and the coaching to look at what emerged were the 7 damaging power gaps. So the ways in which we do not feel powerful or we give away our power. And that's what those 7 gaps were. But to be honest, what shocked me is I also did a survey. I used to do market research in the corporate world. And I love data. I don't like to be making things up. I want numbers. I want data. And so I did a survey, a quantitative survey, and now 1,600 or so people have answered it. But at the time I wrote the book, it was about 1,400. And Nancy, 98% of the women who responded to the survey have at least one of these gaps, and 75% have 3 or more. That stunned me. I knew that was the case when women were coming to me for help, but I sent this out over all the social media platforms. It wasn't just my self-selected pool.
I'm looking at them now, but let's see. Well, they're not recognized. But don't you think number one's really, really important? Not recognizing your talents.
It is the most important.
Diminishing yourself and not feeling deserving. Women, and I will say this, Black women especially, are more educated, more experienced, and more knowledgeable. And to even to go to a position for hiring, they don't feel like they're ready till they have doctorates and PhDs and whatever else. A guy walks in and goes, and they don't even know what the job skills. Oh yeah, I can do that. But they're already negotiating about how much money am I going to make? How much, when do I get my bonuses? And when do I get to go to the next level? Right. So, and women walk in and they go, well, you're going to start working at this and that. And they're not negotiating because they still They don't have the understanding that they're walking in there. They're a prize.
That's it.
They're
I saw
special.
that power gap number one, not recognizing your special talents, abilities, and accomplishments. I have a career path assessment that's 11 pages of questions I wish someone had asked me 40 years ago. And if I had answered them honestly, I don't think I would have made a lot of the mistakes I made. But several of the questions are about, how do you stand out? What did people notice about you? What are your special talents? I know that you won't be surprised, but maybe your listeners were. An enormous percent of the women who answer this, and now something like 75,000 people have downloaded this thing. I've seen thousands either leave the question blank or say something like, well, I know I'm nice. I know I listen well. I know I can be, a bit of a mediator sometimes. They're very vague and very soft skills, and the answers are really unclear to them. And so part of coaching them is educating. Like, I had a anesthesiologist from Europe, and she said, I don't think I have any special talents. So I said, let me ask you something. Could I come in and do your job? She goes, well, probably not. I said, could I kill someone in the first week? She was an emergency room and anesthesiologist. She said, I guess you really could. I said, I think you have some special talents here. But even then there was pushback. Well, I have education. Is that special talents? So again, we have to breathe and understand that we are trained not to look at them. And
we don't want to. My grandmother, this was funny. I came back and I was upset, and she goes, and I was talking about this, what happened to the situation. She says, oh, Nancy, you must have shown your petticoat, which I thought was a wonderful kind of metaphor. But what women don't do is they don't toot their horns. No. They don't walk in a room.
Well, they're desperately afraid to do it.
No, they walk in the room. Hi, how are you? What do you do? Blah, 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 blah. And, I have horses. I walk in and I tell people I have an equestrian center. I ride, I drive, I breed horses. And, then you begin a conversation. It's the richness of the conversation that begins once you share something about yourself. And women don't do it because it's like, oh, I'll look not powerful.
I look like a braggart.
Yeah, or bragging, and and you'll get back to who do you think you are?
I have to give.
And you know what? And that's when you say, well, let me tell you who I am.
Yeah. I'll tell you. I want to give everyone a tip that I think really works. So I'm on LinkedIn in a big way. It's my happy place. To me, it's like the greatest cocktail party in the sky. Yeah. Meaning, wouldn't you want to be in the room with, now it could be 900 million. That's how many people are on LinkedIn, but with the 1,000 most inspiring people that you could ever want to talk to, and they will talk to you. Wouldn't you want to do that? So I go on LinkedIn and I find, a person who's reached out to me, and literally in 3 minutes, Nancy, I can tell more about how they feel about their career and how they're doing in their career than they know about it. What I mean by that is I can see when they're hiding. I can see when their headline is just a job title. We are more than our job title. I can see if their about section is empty. I can see if they don't talk about outcomes. Yes, I'm interested in your skills, but much more do I care about what you did that moved the needle in that role. Holy crow. So that is one of the very first things I do with people, because they're so scared to sound like a braggart. Women find it so difficult to tease out, how did I do this job differently than how Nancy would do it, or how Kathy would do it, or how Fred would do it? So we spend time building that profile so it shines.
But Kathy, I think we're at a time, especially since COVID, it's become more and more apparent that it's about relationships.
100%.
And now what we're finding is the people that are truly becoming successful and happy in what they're doing, they understand something very, very important. It's about relationships, and relationships are a give and take process. And so, I think that's probably where we're leaning more as far as teaching and growing, is leaning more about those relationships. And really, who's better at relationships and problem solving than women?
It's true.
And we've got to keep sharing that.
The reason I bring up LinkedIn is it's a beautiful way to forge relationships, but so many people go about it the wrong way. Like, I was just so floored when I heard one of my clients say that they worked with this high level networking, relationship building expert. And what did the person say? If you want a job as VP of accounting at Blip, find 50 people on LinkedIn and connect, just hit connect. Is that forming a relationship? Not even adding a note, not even looking at that person's content and reposting it and being generous. Like, me finding your content and saying, wow, look at Nancy's new book. And this is what I got out of speaking with Nancy. So I'm elevating you, not that you need it, but I'm also sharing my thought leadership so that people might follow what I have to say.
Yeah.
So I do love LinkedIn because it's the breeding ground for learning how to connect with someone in a meaningful way that's mutually beneficial, which I think is what we're going for, no?
Yeah. Well, I think we have a relationship. That's what it feels like to me. I feel like that when I see you in person, we will have a relationship no matter what, and we'll be able to have a conversation, and we'll be able to talk about this amazing book of yours. Say it again. Let's get it out there, because we have to find people. People have to go there. The most powerful you, seven bravery-boosting paths to career bliss.
Ooh, that's like the way you say it.
To go, and that's what we need for them to do. But tell them how they can do that.
Well, you can find everything that I put out on kathycaprino.com. And I do have a new course based on the book, which I'm so excited about. That's mostpowerfulyou.com. And I have a podcast, Nancy, I'd love to have you on. Please, Finding Brave, which is another term I love, because we don't just brave up. It's a constant process. Findingbrave.org. And those are the 3 places. And you can find The Most Powerful You anywhere that books are sold. And I hope you'll check it out, people. There's an audio version that I narrated. Boy, that was an experience.
Well, that's a good one. That's good.
That was fun. And I can give you a free chapter, all sorts of things. But the whole idea is, please understand that the world needs your talents and gifts. Look at the world today. We need what everyone has to offer.
We need compassionate, caring people out there that really want to make the world a better place to live in. And if you're happy and I'm happy, isn't the world different?
It is different.
Isn't
and we see it different, and we see possibilities and the wish to help other people feel better in their own skin, don't we?
Absolutely. Well, today I went out and rode one of my great big half Arabs, and I did a fantastic job, and I'm ready to show him next week. But, being courageous is part of it. You have to, because every time you get through that fear or that anxiety, and you go out and you do it and it's over with, you're going like, wow, I did it.
I did it. It's not something out here. It's something in here.
I did it. And you can take that anywhere in anything that you ever do. And so that's why I like to share with people, is because when you get there and you get it done, then you can do more and more in your life. And you don't need to start. There's no lockups. There's no shutting down. It's the doors fly open.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, Nancy. And thank you for your many, many years of teaching and training and uplifting us all.
Well,
thank you for all you do.
We're on the same path, and we're going to continue to do the same things. And so congratulations on your new book.
Thank you, my dear.
And I look forward to future conversations, and we will let you know when this is airing, and we will promote it as well.
Thank you so much. So thank you. We all need each other. And I'm right there with you. I know you have some important projects coming, and I can't wait to amplify those.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. All right. Well, let's continue to build this relationship. Have a great day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.